Hey y'all, welcome to the first and maybe only USA Parkour annual recap for 2025. Wanted to shed some light on all the amazing athletes in the US scene because sometimes in other awards ceremonies like Storror, they tend to focus a little bit more on what's going on in the Euro scene. And I wanted to do one that just recaps all the amazing athletes that are in the United States right now. Much like Whose Line Is It Anyway, the points here don't matter. Unfortunately, I don't have the budget to give everybody an award, but know that I really like your content and what you are doing. And I hope that that meaningless reward continues to motivate you in 2026. All right, let's get into it. So our first category is Videos of the Year. And I had to, of course, drop the OG of OGs, Daryl Stingley with Hardcore Parkour. I actually love what he did with this one, sort of reclaiming that term of hardcore parkour. I think, obviously, from The Office, it's a cringy thing, but it maybe shouldn't be. And I like that he's at least trying. This video is full of some non-2025 clips. It has a little bit of a slower start, a lot of stuff that you've probably already seen. But if you did not stick around to the second half, the post-ankle surgery recovery, you need to watch it because there are some absolute bangers in that second half of the video. And yeah, Daryl goes hard. Next up, we've got Dirty from Colorado local Ross Allen, who I've known since he was like a 9-year-old kid. It was sick getting to see Ross finally have a part. I mean, yeah, Ross has put together some legendary stuff at spots in Colorado where you go and you're like, who did that? Ross? Oh my Lord. But doesn't really film a ton of it. And it's always been a shame that he's not had a long solo part like that, at least since the Friend Films Dante Grazioli days, when Dante was filming him as like a 12-year-old kid. But we finally got one with Dirty, Egg, and Ross behind the cam putting this one together through the Commons. It's phenomenal. The vibes, immaculate, the movement, insane. A great combination from like more traditional parkour all the way to some of the more modern kind of street style stuff. So yeah, if you have not already purchased it on the Commons, you need to check it out. Up next, we've got another Commons piece. This one is Charmed with Logan Frady, who is originally from Grand Junction, Western Colorado, now is out here in Denver as well. And yeah, another banger, another insanely diverse sort of skill set. This one's a little bit more trick heavy. So Logan has a really, really solid tricking background and can triple cork and triple full like nobody's business. You see that in here, but what I really loved about Charmed, the tone. I mean, Logan's just like the friendliest, goofiest dude, and Egg and Logan really capture that in both the edit and the filming on this one. But also the spots that they pick are like these random alleyways in Logan's neighborhood in Cap Hill here in Denver, which is pretty well known for skating. And there's a lot of spots that are just kind of like skate spots, a random feature, you know, like a weird thing sticking out of the ground. I love the fact that Logan just walked around his neighborhood seemingly and filmed some of the sickest lines I've seen this year in random corner spots. Heck yeah. And our last nomination is 11 Years Deep by Roland Hannigan. I was so stoked to see this one. It's been really cool to see how Roland has kind of stayed involved in the community and really developed as an athlete and as a leader, especially in that Greenville, South Carolina scene. And this was just exceeded my expectations. I know Roland's been getting really good and I've seen some clips, but this was like, it didn't push the boundaries of the parkour video art form. Like in some ways it was actually the most old school by far. It felt like kind of like a 2013 to 2015 edit. But in that way, it was really refreshing. Like there wasn't really a ton of B-roll. There wasn't like random character bits or narrative. It was just like banger, 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 banger. From again, like more traditional parkour stuff to just some beautiful side flip precisions and a couple gnarly bails. I'm glad he's okay with those. This one was a little bit of a throwback, but I haven't seen it getting as much love as I think it should have been getting. Like really, really high level stuff in here, and I needed to pop it in. Tough decision because I like all of these people, but the winner is Dirty by Ross Allen. This was my favorite video of the entire year, I think, in our sport. I don't know what it was. It was just something about the edit, knowing Ross so well, and the novelty of the spots, the movement. Like it had some single banger clips, like the wall spin double full that I'd never seen before, but it also just had some small intricate bits that felt like training with Ross. I guess that's my favorite thing about this whole video is it felt like the experience of training with him. And I think if you watch this video, you get the vibe of who Ross is and what it's like to hang out and how sick he is, but also how down he is to just kind of noodle around at what a lot of people would look at and just be like, dude, that's a tree and a slope of grass. What are you gonna do there? And then he makes magic with it. So congratulations, Ross. I can't give you anything except props and a hug next time I see you, but fantastic video and definitely deserving video of the year for 2025 in the US. All right, next up, we're gonna go to Athlete of the Year. And one thing I've learned from Storror is I'm actually gonna split this into Street Athlete and Comp Athlete of the Year because it's hard to distinguish between the two, and a lot of people do both, but some really excel in one segment and some really excel in the other. So first we're gonna go into Street Athlete of the Year. First nominee, somebody I had to throw out, is Wes, who you might know as Spin and Turtle. He posts basically daily bangers. And when I say bangers, it's like, they can be scale, it can be originality and creativity, it can be like big rail Kong prees, or it could just be weird stuff that you've never seen before. And he's going out in all conditions, like snow, ice, rain, day, night, like any type of spot, jams, whatever it is. Wes has been out there almost 365 this year, killing it, and had to be at least nominated. Next up, we've got Parker Zebel. I'm realizing now how many people's last names I either don't know or have no idea how to pronounce. Parker Zebel, we'll say for now. And Parker's up in South Carolina, trains with Bob and Roland and the rest of the Motive Movement crew. Parker had a heck of a year. My only complaint that I've ever had with him is like James West is a similar thing. He does a lot of stuff in the gym, and it was great to see him this year throwing out some insane combos. The one that will get brought up again later for Banger of the Year is this side pre pop dub 10 on concrete. Insane, but that wasn't it. I mean, he's out here doing like double castaway, tons of big impacty side flips. His ability to handle impact day to day is insane. And while his creativity, you kind of know what you're gonna get a lot of the time, but it's still fantastic to see the scale of what he's doing. And yeah, fantastic year of training for Parker. All right, next up we've got Megan McQueen, and I feel like Megan, despite being a beast, gets slept on. A, because she's really, really tall, and B, I think just because she's really tall. I actually think that's the only reason. She is such a strong athlete and consistently is putting out really, really solid training clips, especially outside. And I think in 2025, she really seemed like she grew with her line building. I feel like she found a lot of interesting things to do that I didn't expect this year in her training, and was able to combine some of the strength and skill that she's been developing, sort of take that to the next level, and then also add on top of that more complexity, some more acrobatics, some more creativity, and overall just taking her outdoor movement to a higher tier in 2025. And now she's in Vancouver and posting some really cool stuff already for 2026. So we'll see where that goes. You probably know Chloe Reynolds, but if you knew her before 2024, I would be kind of surprised. She popped off very hard in the last couple of years, and 2025 in particular, I think Chloe became well known in the international scene. She has such a unique style, so I got to do a podcast with her and she talked about her dance background, but the vision that she brings to parkour is just so different from everybody else on this list. And I felt like because of that, and also because of the traction that she's been getting in the community, I needed to include her for sure. She is another person who's out there filming like really regularly, a couple times a week, and always doing something that's kind of in her wheelhouse, but a little bit adjacent. This clip is not from 2025, I don't think, unless she squeezes it in before the new year, but she did this heel hook descent that she dropped like a couple weeks ago. It's absolutely insane and went viral for good reason. So Chloe, shout out for all the work that you did in 2025. Can't wait to see what you got coming up this year. We're getting to a couple of old heads now. First up, we got Daryl Stingley. I already mentioned Daryl with Hardcore Parkour. Daryl had a pretty gnarly ankle injury at SPL in 2024, and his video recounts how he kind of got back to strength. 2025, he did a lore drop on us, just full on Unk style, dropped a new move, the double tap, and it has been really cool to see what he's been able to do with it, and also how other people in the community are starting to implement it. It seems like it's an improvement on the classic tic-tac move that's been around in parkour for over 20 years now, and the ability to improve on a move that's already part of every practitioner's toolkit is wild. Like, that alone is worth getting mentioned as Street Athlete of the Year for the year. But in addition to that, he's applying it outside, he's training all the time. He's also actually been posting a lot of really cool speed and flow oriented clips. So I feel like every year he kind of has a focus. Like sometimes it's been ascents, sometimes it's been more acrobatics. I feel like this year has been very like speed directional parkour, and seeing that has been really cool. Could not have this category without dropping Daryl's name in here. Next, we've got another OG, maybe the GOAT of the US parkour scene for men, at least at this point, and it's Nate Weston. And Nate had a little bit of a sleeper year because I know he was working and had a bunch of other stuff going on in LA. But when he did post, it was bangers, like this flyaway precision stick, just chef's kiss, so good. And tons of other stuff that has just got that classic Nate, like it's clean, it's creative, it's interesting use of a spot. It mixes some pretty significant scale high parkour with, consequence, with acrobatics. Like Nate has just got his own style that he has perfected, and that didn't drop off as far as I'm concerned in 2025. I know he didn't drop a big project, but even the little things that we got to see definitely means he deserves to be on this list. And last up for Street Athlete of the Year, we got Shea Rudolph. And I feel like Shea is another person who, because he's such a comp athlete primarily, gets kind of slept on. The stuff he does outside is insane. Like, we'll talk about the stuff he did at SPL and some of these other competitions in a little bit because it was also insane. But do not sleep on Shea Rudolph when it comes to outdoor training. I don't care if it's your style, you got to appreciate the line building, the complexity, the difficulty, and the ability to cast back off of apparently like curbs. I guess that's just what we do now in 2025, 2026. Yeah, I'm gonna stick to like my chest high wall for cast backs. Thank you very much. But Shea, amazing stuff as always in 2025. Stoked to see what you got for this year. You probably are getting a sense for how hard it was for me to decide this one. And it was very, very hard. I'm going to emphasize the consistency, the creativity, and just doing it in all conditions. And I'm gonna give the Street Athlete of 2025 for the United States of America to Wes, the Spinning Turtle. You had an insane year. The fact that you are creating something out of nothing so consistently and doing it with moves that have never either been done before outside, never been thought of, or just like never been done in that spot. Like, what are you doing playing with a bench and turning it into a place to do like double Kong gate? Insane. And then doing it in the snow, the rain, etc. Like we already talked about it. Wes, killer year. Cannot wait to see what you got coming in 2026. And I hope that I get to see a longer Wes project soon and get some saved clips up because, dude, killing it. All right, we are moving into the comp scene. I'm gonna go maybe a little quicker on this one, because I don't know, I don't value the comp scene as much as the street scene, and that's just my personal opinion. But I still value it, and I still want to give everybody their flowers that throws down at the comps. It does a ton for the sport, and even though I prefer seeing the street clips, I do love to see some comp clips, and this year we had some wild, wild comp clips. Let's start with Audrey Johnson, who is also in that Greenville, South Carolina Motive Movement crew. Audrey really threw down this year in both speed and in style. And I mean, the gargoyle gainer, fantastic. I feel like Audrey has always had a style that had a lot of promise. And I think 2025, I feel like I started to see that promise get fulfilled. Like there's still a little bit of room for growth with her line building and the style and stuff, but she is so darn fast. She's such a good competitor. She looks like she's having so much fun all the time, and I'm very jealous of that. And then she also added difficulty and better line building this year. So Audrey, fantastic 2025. I love seeing what you put together, especially at SPL this year. And yeah, kudos. Next up, you already know her name, Lightning McQueen. And though she did not end up doing speed this year, she did do skill. It was so fun to see her competing in skill. This is the first year, like I've known Megan since she was a kid. Christine was one of her first parkour coaches, and it's been amazing to get to see her become such a badass athlete and human being overall. And I feel like this was the first year that it seemed like she competed fully as an adult. Like in other years, I feel like people were kind of like, oh, Megan, she's like still kind of a kid, but she's getting up there. And this year was just like, no, Megan's competing with Louisa. She's competing with Renee. She's doing NBDs at Origins. So my personal favorite moment for Megan this year as a comp athlete was watching her stick that rail precision that Louisa broke and then Renee got. Like seeing the three of them do that And knowing that there's not a lot of other women in the world who would have the power or control to do that rail pre and stick it, especially in those circumstances, was awesome. And obviously it panned out because she got second place in skill and absolutely killed it. And it's just showing every year that she's, you know, really becoming an athlete to watch out for on an international level. Speaking of skill champions, we've got the one and only Brandon Hooper. If you thought that Brandon was not good enough to come back and get a repeat this year, Brandon's performance this year was so dominant and so fun to watch. Brandon, I just want a street part. Like, please just film a street part, because I love the clips from Hub Sudbury or wherever it is that you're training. I love the comp clips, but oh my gosh, like the few street clips I've seen, so good. And that is my only complaint ever, because yeah, what Brandon did in skill this year, demolishing those challenges, making them look easy when all the other best athletes in the world are barely getting there, like power, control, confidence, technique, commitment, everything. Total package. Brandon Hooper, absolutely phenomenal as a comp athlete and showing yourself to be the most dominant skill parkour athlete in the world yet again. Congratulations. We got two more. Next up is Ryan Abiang. So Rai killed it again this year. He won KOTC in an insane head-to-head against Ellis Torhall. Maybe the first person to ever beat Ellis as an adult in a competition. Like, I don't know if Ellis has lost in a comp since he was a child, which would be wild. And then also killing it at SPL, doing like this wild double side gap, having some beautiful line building. Overall, I think that I've seen Rai's line building improve every single year. 2025 was no exception. And the way that he's planning his routes, how much more strategically he's using his skill set. Like, we know that Rai can quad full like nobody's business, but he's not just doing like, oh, big trick, scoot quad full off of this block. He's really thinking strategically now about how he is putting those bangers in his lines, and it was a blast to watch. Like, again, another person that is maybe, what, 17? Sky is the limit for Rai. I cannot wait to see more head-to-head matchups between Rai and Ellis in the future. Dude, you're killing it. Amazing 2025. And speaking of amazing 2025s, yet again, last on the list, we got Shea Rudolph, and he absolutely killed it this year. He also won KOTC in Italy, and then he got third place at SPL and came away with what was the sickest trick, I believe, of the comp. I think it was the highest scoring trick, and had never been done in the sport's history, which was Kong Gainer Pre to a rail. If you had told me that this was the setup that Kong Gainer Rail Pre would be done on the first time, I would not have believed you. But some of the other stuff he did in this comp also just flew under the radar. As always, amazing line building. The step up palm flip that he does here, I think got way underscored. The precision that it requires for foot hand placement, and then the landing, and knowing just how many shenanigans can happen if any one of those things goes wrong. And the fact that this was Shea's first big trick was wild. I'm glad that he continued and went on to the Kong Gainer Rail Pre. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I just wanted to point out how sick that one was. I'm pointing in every direction. It was sick. And I think Shea deserves his flowers for that, for sure. Also, I don't talk a lot about the FIG comps because I'm not a huge fan of them, but Shea and Audrey did both compete in the FIG comps, and Shea really dominated there as well. So he, across essentially every playing field, had an insanely dominant year as a competitive parkour athlete. All right. The winner for me this year is going to be, and this is really hard, it's between Brandon Hooper and Shea Rudolph, and I'm going Shea Rudolph just because of what I said at the end, that he competed against such a broad field of athletes through KOTC, through FIG, through SPL. While Brandon Hooper had a more dominant competitive performance, it was really in the context of just like the USPK circuit qualifiers for SPL and SPL. And I do think that something needs to be said about how insane it is that Shea's going out and competing in all these different formats and dominating in each one of them. Plus the cherry on the cake of the Kong Gainer Rail Pre. Like, what a fantastic year. Shea, you've been getting slept on for years, and I was really glad to see that 2025 you got the hype that you deserve. Congratulations, you're my comp athlete of the year. All right, we're gonna change gears a little bit and go to creative of the year. And for this one, I wanted to highlight people who are maybe not doing work as athletes so much, but they're either doing art or they're a little behind the scenes on the camera and editing side, doing the extra work that helps define the culture, but maybe doesn't always get recognized. And first up, we've got Finn Evans. And Finn has done murals, he's done art, he's done some of your favorite t-shirts. I don't know if there's actually a big event that happened in 2025 that Finn was not a part of, some fashion as a designer or graphic designer or artist. All of his work this year was amazing. It was really, really cool to see how he is kind of helping to change and redefine what the style of American parkour looks like visually, and wanted to give him a shout out for that. Next up, we've got Wenson Yang. And Wenson, if you're not familiar with him, works as a content creator, director, producer, and professional and branded content as his day job. And he also has taken that into parkour, made some really just gorgeous cinematic shorts on YouTube. Go to his YouTube, and if you want to just watch like little 2-minute bites, it's like if Hayao Miyazaki made a 2-minute parkour video, that is what Wenson was creating in 2025. They're so calming, and there's such a lovely juxtaposition from how the extreme short form content of parkour is often presented to us. It was just like a great little breather. And in addition to that, Wenson's also been doing brand recaps where he, sees what kind of branded content has been made in parkour and does that. He's also created some additional content. Like he did a great branded piece with parkour for Kodak. And so to me, he's really acting as a bridge for the parkour community from the sort of like grassroots level all the way up to the professional level with some of the world's biggest brands. And I think that deserves to be highlighted. Thank you for doing what you're doing in 2025, Wenson. Alrighty. Now we got Mel McQueen, who in 2024, Tina Fey said was her favorite parkour athlete. I don't think those are her exact words, but Tina Fey did reference Mel McQueen.
Look up the hashtag parkour over 50. But sometimes it's like just women who are my age who just kind of like slowly jump over a bench.
No.
And it's so, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to run around the park and like 2-footed jump over a bench.
In a post, and it was awesome. And I think that's why I need to bring up Mel here. Mel is the community mom, but I think as a creative, what she does is also presenting parkour and how it can be trained as somebody who is older and who is not making it their full-time job to be an athlete is amazing. And I think it just broadens parkour up to so many people and gives them the chance to say like, hey, maybe I can try this thing. And I don't need to look like Brandon Hooper to do it. And if I look a little silly, as long as I'm having fun, that's okay. And to me, that is an amazing thing about Mel's content, is it gives permission to people to go out and try stuff and have fun and fail. And that's all beautiful, and that's part of the process. And yep, wanted to highlight that and bring Mel up as one of my creatives to watch in 2025. If you are not familiar with Egg, I would be incredibly surprised. In addition to training literally every single day for the last like 8 years at this point, actually mind-blowing. I need to like do the math on how many days they have been training. Egg has also been behind the camera for a lot of the recent Commons projects. So I talked about Ross Allen's feature Dirty, Logan Frady's feature Charmed. Egg has been shooting stuff as well. Poppies in October was a fantastic video that they made. So not only as an athlete and a creative in the sense of being a movement creative, and Egg is 100% one of the most creative movement specialists in our sport, but they're also really pushing their skill set as an editor and as a cinematographer in parkour and doing tons and tons of work for the Commons that maybe people might not have realized. So shout out for that, Egg. Last up, we got Bob Reese, and I needed to add in somebody that just knows the algorithm. Bob is, if you don't know, one of the most insane athletes in the history of our sport. Like Bob at his peak, and maybe still now, is one of the few people that I think could go head to head with Ellis, where they're both performing at their best and come out on top because of his trick selection, his creativity, and his ability to do some of the most insane NBDs that like people would not even think are possible. But Bob also is really good at creating content that people like to watch. Like he's funny, he's engaging. He kind of like Mel makes parkour fun, but also can show it at a high level of physical execution that Mel doesn't have on her page and that not a lot of people in the world can do. So I really appreciate what Bob does for our sport, which is bridging that gap between, hey, parkour can be for everybody. It can be something fun. It can be something dumb. It can be something funny. And also parkour can be one of the sickest physical feats that you will see this year. Again, this one is so hard, but my creative of the year for 2025 is going to be Wenson Yang, and that's because I think the work that Wenson is doing is tapping into a part of the industry that has not been tapped into before. People like Wenson, internationally like Lilu, Ruel, when you're working with these big brands, you are opening the opportunity to raise the water for everybody in the entire sport, because you are redefining the relationship that the creative director of a brand like Nike maybe has with parkour. And next time they think about doing a big brand campaign, now it's on their radar and they know that you, a working professional, can execute it. And a lot of times in parkour, we have seen the people like Bob's, we've seen Jesse LaFleur, and we've seen, the folks that have that viral content, and it doesn't always translate into any kind of sustainable infrastructure or really a ton of creative addition to the visual language of parkour. And what I think Wenson is doing is he's adding a way to communicate parkour visually at a professional level, and also building those relationships. Whether or not we're able to cash in on them is a different story, but he's building those relationships to show that parkour is a big boy sport, and yeah, it belongs in the same arena as a rock climbing or as a skating or as a surfing. Let's talk about the biggest surprise in 2025. And we're gonna have 1 or 2 repeats here. The first one probably won't surprise you. It is Wes again, Spinning Turtle. Like, Wes was on the come up in 2024. I think people who were nerdy in the US scene or who were kind of local knew about Wes, but I really feel like Wes blew up hard in 2025, and it was, as we've already talked about, 100% deserved. I only see that continuing to happen in 2026. And Wes is probably the top, most popular athlete of this list, I would say, but still, I think the growth that happened for him in 2025, I needed to put him as a surprise. I certainly did not see the level that he reached by the end of the year happening when I was watching his stuff mid-2024. Next up, we got Larry Vivar, and Larry also kind of came out of nowhere from the first KOTC competition where he's competing with Dom, and my reaction, I don't know if this was everybody's reaction, was like, here's this little kid, all the way up to SPL, where he was throwing down some of the sickest stuff that we saw in the entire competition. I feel like in 2025, Larry showed, similar to Megan, I'm not a little kid that's gonna be the future of the sport someday. I am knocking on the door right now. I think the stuff that Larry is posting in the gym now and outside, I know he's filming for an outdoor part for 2026. I think it shows that he is ready to continue to redefine American parkour moving forward. Last up, we got Jacob Jeweler. So Jacob is a little bit maybe more under the radar from just a purely Instagram views perspective. And I know that he had some injuries, so he wasn't able to compete at SPL, but Jacob won at the USA Parkour Cup, which is the one that's affiliated with WFPF, double medaled in speed and style, posted some of the sickest outdoor clips of the year, hit some insane stuff out at Kippa Jam and a bunch of the other summer jams, including this massive Kong Prix that I don't know actually how accurate this is. The only people I've seen do this one also are Ziggy and Verky. So that gives me a sense of scale for how insane that one was. And then put together this wild year recap. Just absolutely killed it. His 180 scoot triple full clip, one of my favorite clips this year. And I did not really know Jacob Jeweler before 2025. I'd kind of seen some of his stuff, but I don't know, it didn't feel like the personality of his movement made any impact on me, and that absolutely changed in 2025. So for me personally, he was a huge surprise in 2025, and yeah, really excited to see where a healthy Jacob Jeweler is taking things next year. And the winner for biggest surprise of 2025 for me is Larry Vivar. I think you see a lot of kids come into the sport and they have a lot of promise, and it's rare that that carries through, and particularly rare that at 15 or 16 they're doing things at an elite level. Larry's done all of that and more. I mean, he is one of the few people throwing some of these moves like A-twist in casually outside in comp. He's putting stuff together in lines like this weird running U-gainer full caster type thing up. I don't even know how to call the moves out that he's doing all the time. And then also setting some stuff up in a gym that looks like he's gonna throw it outside really soon. Again, I'm super excited to hear that Larry is filming a part this year outside. I can't wait to see more outdoor stuff from Larry. And he's not gonna surprise me in 2026, but boy, was he a surprise in 2025. Hey, kitty. Joining me for Banger of the Year, none other than the legendary Trango Cat, the Henry House. This was a year full of bangers, and I've got my computer screen here to help replay some of these because they were so insane. The first one is replaying in my head constantly, and that was Parker's side pre pop dub 10 on concrete. Like the scale of this thing, the impact, the fact that you even think to do that as a combination is legitimately insane. And this one got shared around because it was such a banger. No other words, just watch and imagine how your knees would feel after trying this. Next up, we've got Audrey Johnson's Gargoyle Gainer, and I feel like this one got love, but it kind of still feels to me like it went under the radar. The dimensions of this, like this is a super gnarly messed up move. Like this was like that Alfred Scott style parkour that nobody wants to do because you're about to get a concussion the second you mess up. And then B, why are you doing it there? Like, why are you doing it in a little box, Audrey? What the heck? This was so sick to see because like I'd said earlier, you know, Audrey's always had a really impressive skill set, but it felt kind of, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but it felt like I was waiting to see where she was going to take it to make it her own. You know, like she had like the base set of skills and she was executing those really, really well, but I was waiting to see where her personality would start to take her movement. And I feel like in 2025, we saw that, and I am here for it. Like I did not expect that direction, but I am here for it. So sick stuff, Audrey. Next up, we got Daryl Stingley's big old double tap pre on market in San Francisco. The shot, the innovation of the movement, the scale of it, the woman in the background, like, wait, what? Doing that double take. I love this clip. I love this move. And yeah, I've already said that Daryl kind of started a wave with this move. That in and of itself is hard to do, but also having an iconic clip like this that captures a new movement as it's being developed is so cool to see in our sport. So amazing shot, amazing movement, and it's rare to get a banger like this that's just like straight up traditional parkour, beautifully executed, and Daryl did it. All right, Shea Rudolph coming in next with the Kong Gainer Rail Pre. I already talked about this a bunch and you've already seen it, but we got to talk about it. The fact that it happened in comp is only a small drawback because the setup, like I said, that he chose to do it in is so messed up, like so low, no room to undershoot the Kong Gainer Pre really or prep at all, way less run up than you would want. Like it's really not ideal in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that he went for it, like that's one thing I've always loved about Shea as an athlete. He has not always executed, but he always tries the thing that you want to see somebody try. And you cannot ask for anything more in a competitive athlete from like a pure entertainment and hype perspective than like, that guy's gonna try the thing. Like we all see that it's possible. We all see it. We're not all willing to accept the risk. And then Shea just steps up to the plate and he's like, all right guys, I got this. I'm about to hit this Kong Gainer Rail Pre like you've never seen, and does it. And like people go wild, and they should, because that was an absolute banger. Last up, I also dropped this one already in the video, but Ross Allen's diving wall spin double full. This feels like just such an encapsulation of Ross's skill set. Like you gotta be looking for something weird. It's not an ideal setup. And then you need to be able to twist like crazy and execute at weird angles. And like the fact that Ross A found it and then B was able to nail it after a bunch of attempts was so cool. I guess the only takeaways on this one, it's on grass if you are the type of person that cares about that. Personally, like if people don't want to take pain and can find a setup where they can do it on something like grass that's a little bit softer, more power to you. But from a visual perspective, it's a little bit less compelling than something like Parker's, but it is so technical and so cool. I could not have the section without dropping that because it was one of my favorite clips of the year. And the winner of Banger of the Year 2025 for me is Parker's side pre pop dub 10. This is just like video game style shenanigans. You cannot prep this. You have to make that decision. Like when your feet land on the side pre, the commitment has to happen in such a split second, and the level of commitment required to make this happen and the level of consequence if you mess it up so high that even though Shea did the first Kong Gainer Rail Pre in the world, I at least see a world where you're like, okay, I can Kong Gainer, maybe I'm gonna shin it. That's maybe like my worst case scenario unless I hit my head, and we all know Shea's amazing and probably can always avoid hitting his head on a con gainer. But for Parker, hitting that and then being able to just rip that dub 10 to like a 10-foot drop onto hard conch, absolutely wild. Just like the spectacle of this clip. And to me, that's when I say banger, I think that's what I mean. It's like it has to combine scale, technicality, and just have like a sense of spectacle to the clip. And this one had all of that. It was really, like, in my opinion, one of the more video game moments of parkour ever, and definitely one of the most iconic clips anyone in the US parkour scene has ever recorded, period, hands down. So Parker, you got that banger of the year. I am terrified and also excited to see what you throw down in 2026. We got 2 more left. This is the last one where I'm actually giving out an award, and that is Community of the Year. It feels kind of weird, you may say, to give an award for the best community. Isn't the whole point that it's not a competitive thing? Well, you're totally right, and this is mostly just to highlight all the communities that I think are doing awesome things. I'm gonna start with my local scene in Denver. We haven't been making a ton of content, but I think that the Denver scene, if you're not out here training all the time, is probably the strongest it's ever been. I mean, it's one of those few places in the world where I could go to a spot, not know if anybody is training, whatever, and almost always see somebody training. And on any given day, there's like 3 or 4 sessions happening all around the greater Denver area. So kudos to all the different pieces that make up the Denver scene, from like the Opus Movement guys to Apex to all the folks who are just out training that don't have any affiliation, like me and Julius and Marquise and Howard. I think that, you know, where Denver scene has gone the last year and where it's going the next year is awesome. Stay tuned, because I know that I'm helping plan some really cool stuff in Colorado this year that I'll probably be announcing pretty soon with the Apex crew and the rest of the Denver community. So stay tuned for that, but shout out Denver. Next up, we got Cincinnati, and I feel like the Cincy Jam has become sort of like the main Midwest jam in the last couple of years. So I got to go in 2024. I missed it this past year, but it was an absolute blast in 2024. It was so fun. And it's really cool because it gathers athletes from all over the country, but it really highlights those Midwestern athletes that maybe don't get to go to the coastal jams as easily. We talk a lot, at least in the international and sort of US scene, about like Boston and New York and Colorado and LA. But I think that the Midwest has so many parkour communities, and when they can combine in a central location, or even part of the time in a central location, somewhere like Cincinnati, it's amazing to see. And what Seth Rugi's done with that gym, what they've done with that jam, I think is an awesome thing. And yeah, just want to continue to see more, and congratulations for doing what you guys are doing out there. Next up is Texas. And I'm going to specifically say Austin because the other ones are cities, and Texas in general just has such a strong community, but like their jam is rotating. So there's not really a central hub. Like there's a bunch of people in Dallas, Fort Worth, there's a bunch of people in Austin, there's a bunch of people in San Antonio, and they're all doing amazing things. I feel like Austin is sort of the primary travel destination when people go to Texas to do parkour, and that was true in 2025. So that's why I'm highlighting it here. But I wanted to show just a broader sense of love to the Texas community. We already name dropped Jacob Jeweler. There's so many sick Texas athletes that are just killing it. I mean, it feels like a new one pops up every year, and I love to see what they're doing. And I love the gyms that they're organizing, and I love the content that they're making. So Lone Star State, way to go. And specifically Austin, I'm looking at you. No surprises there, being up there as one of the top communities for parkour in 2025. I already dropped the community that I am currently in and where I live now here in Denver, but I want to drop my home community, which is the New York community. Move NYC is the big jam that happens in New York every year, and it was another successful year for that. It's great to see that they bring really such a diverse group of people together, and that's with the Movement Creative. But outside of Movement Creative, there are all types of sort of micro communities and macro communities like Parkour NYC that are organizing sessions and getting out there and training. Only thing I would ever like to see more of from New York is just like more structured and long form content. So in 2024, I think we got Unbroken. We had a huge year from Unknown Parkour in 2024. They kind of took a step back in 2025. So hopefully we get more content from Unknown and Movement Creative and Parkour NYC in 2026. But great job as always, guys. And last, but certainly not least, we've got Boston, which I'm gonna tell you right now, is my pick for Community of the Year. I think it has become sort of the cultural hub for parkour in America. It's kind of taken the place that I think Denver Boulder had probably 5-10 years ago, and that is primarily due to the work that the Commons has done. They've made a really concerted effort to get media from athletes all over the country, and with Join or Die, they've sort of created like the gotta be event of the country. I think that while there are some other big gems that I've talked about, Join or Die seems to be the big international draw. And when I talk to people from outside of the US and ask them if they're planning on coming to any events this year, JOD is always the one that they bring up. And so I think that's a testament to what the Commons has done for the Boston scene. In addition, Hub Parkour, I mean, how many athletes have they put into the SPL circuit and the comp scene? The Northeast, they've done so much to help organize that circuit. And also Dylan Poland at Hub has done a ton of work behind the scenes with SPL. So Boston's really got its fingers everywhere at this point through the Commons and through Hub. And that's not even talking about the fact that Parkour Generations America has a primary hub there as well. So really, I think that they are the most important community and most relevant parkour community in the scene right now. They're doing amazing work, and yeah, gotta shout them out and give them all the love that they deserve. And thank you guys for doing what you're doing for the culture. We're gonna end with athletes to watch for this year, 2026. And it's always, who knows what people are gonna do. Things happen, people get injured, you know, people have life stuff that gets in the way of their training. But I wanted to highlight some athletes that I was really stoked on in 2025 that maybe didn't put out as much content or have as many defining moments, but I'm really looking forward to watching in 2026. We're gonna start with a good friend who I know has already filmed some bangers in the last couple of months, and that's Julius Porter. And Julius, originally from North Carolina, he's out here in Denver now. I won't say that he's filming a part, but I won't say that he's not filming a part. And the clips I've already seen are, real nice. If you don't know, Julius was actually the first person to do this really famous illegal Pete's descent from the top. And that's a descent that, like, you had Phil Doyle, Alex Schauer, Nick Ortiz, Dylan Baker. I mean, you name it. Basically everyone except Joe Scandrett come and look at and say, no, thank you, from the top. And Julius is the first and only athlete to have ever sent that. So that gives you a sense of where his mental game and commitment are at. And I'm hoping to see that that translates into some insane content for 2026. Next up, we've got Ima from New York, whose last name I do not know. I'm so sorry, Ima. Ima is an absolute joy to train with, and casually has become like a really legit style threat. So Ima, when I first met her, was just beasting out running prees like nobody's business, and was more of like a speed skill traditional parkour athlete. Since then, she now is like really good at flips and is doing corks and fulls and A-twists and all kinds of cool lines. And I'm really, really excited to see where she can take that skill set of some style, I don't want to say fundamentals, but some like really key components of a style athlete and some really, really high level traditional parkour, and combine those. It's got a ton of promise, and I'm excited to see what Ima does in 2026. Next, we've got Will Hess out of Hub. And Will was one of the speed favorites going into this year and had a slip up and basically was not able to finish his run. I'm expecting him to come back and just be a beast again in 2026. And I'm also hoping, like with Brandon Hooper, that Will can get out and shoot some street stuff. Like, even if it's speed parkour, go do some of Ryan Ford's courses. Like, I just want to see Will and Brandon and Gio and those Hub guys out on the streets a little bit more when the weather warms up in Boston. So don't disappoint me this year, Will. Don't do it. No, you didn't disappoint me. And the competition stuff is cool and you always kill it and you're absolute blast to watch. But I also love the gym and outdoor clips. So just stoked to see whatever it is that you decide to share in 2026. I just name dropped Gio, but Gio Lassard is another one of my athletes to watch. He, I feel like, has kind of flown under the radar a little bit because Brandon and Will are in that same Hub, like, graduating class of insane athletes. But I feel like Gio's got a little bit of Will and a little bit of Brandon and a little bit of like style athlete, and puts them all together in a really cool way. I've been loving the clips that he has been sharing so far in the last like 4 or 5 months and into 2026. And yeah, I'm curious to see like where he goes, because he's such a well-rounded athlete. Like, he's like a Xander Levitt where he could do a little bit of anything. And I want to see what that anything is this year. Last up, we've got Don Terry. And Don has been, again, like a big comp athlete. He has been really prominent in skill at SPL in the last couple of years, but doesn't post as many bangers outside. And similar to all these other athletes, Don, I just want you to get a friend to film you a little bit and show me some outdoor clips, because Don is tall, so strong, so confident, really good at footwork, you know, got like a really cool vision as well occasionally for line building, not just sort of like a linear athlete, but sometimes comes up with these really interesting and weird, unexpected direction changes in his lines. I'm really excited to see it, and I hope that maybe this helps motivate some of these athletes to film some more stuff outside. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, I love seeing what everybody in this list posts, and excited to get more in 2026. Oh, all right. That is it for the USA Parkour Awards of 2025. If you were in this list, you're insane. Thank you for doing what you do and contributing to the sport and the culture and our media and letting people like me talk about it. I really appreciate all the folks who are on this list. And if you are not on this list, I dropped a couple people like Xander that just didn't quite fit into any of these categories, but are constantly among my favorite athletes in the sport. And maybe I just need another excuse to name drop more people like that. And this was an absolute blast to do. If you liked it and you would like to see more stuff like this, it's going to be 10 months till I can do it again, but I'll happily do it again. And I love talking about parkour. So let me know what you thought. Please go ahead and follow all those athletes that I listed, because they're fantastic and what they're doing is beautiful for the sport of parkour, and redefining it from an office meme here in the United States to a thing that actual people do and enjoy. And if you don't do parkour, but you're thinking about it, go give it a try, you rascal.